Let's get into some shite. Hi, folks. Welcome to Apocalyptic. My name is Rick. I'm with you today for a short time. It's our middle of the week, kind of middle of the week. What do you call Thursday? Thursday sort of over middle of the week. It's our Thursday show. Last night, I had some great Korean food here in Atlanta. Now, let me tell you, Atlanta has some great Asian food of all, what do you call them, persuasions? Of all backgrounds, of all nationalities. Let's go there. When you think about it, the Asian countries are really all over the place. Boy, I'm just really great with my vocabulary today, right? So Indian food, which I love, you would have to classify as Asian food, really. And Japanese food, which is my favorite, is also Asian food. And then you got Chinese, you got Vietnamese, you got Korean, all kinds of stuff. And Atlanta, you could get all that, and it's really fantastic if you know where to look. And I do know where to look. So last night we went to, we took some friends of ours. We didn't take them. We met them at one of my favorite Korean restaurants called Stone Bowl. If you're ever in around the Atlanta area, look it up, eat there. It's great. So we went there, had a lot of food. Just so much food. I don't know how traditionally the Asian people stay so skinny with the food that they eat. There's so much of it. And I had one of the I don't know the Korean word. Just, it's rice and vegetables in a hot, steaming stone bowl, and the rice on the bottom is still cooking when you get it, so it sounds like Rice Krispies. It's got while you're eating it, and so the rice is like turning all crispy while you're eating. Oh, it is Rice Krispies, hot Rice Krispies, Korean style. And then they bring you all of these appetizers that's mostly pickled vegetables in different formats. And lots, because Korean food has a lot of pickled stuff, especially the vegetables, and so you get a lot of different things, and you just eat a little bit here and a little bit there. And then it had a type of Korean, I guess pancake is what I might want to say, big thing with a lot of vegetables on it, and it looked like a pizza. That was fantastic. We just stuffed ourselves with all kinds of stuff. And I'm trying to just lay off the beer. Didn't have any beer, had water. So I didn't get filled up with liquid. But it was great. It was fantastic. Love to do that. Like to just go pig out on lots and lots of Asian food. And I never know where. So like I said, Japanese is my favorite. I could eat that. We have a couple of Japanese restaurants. Just found out one of my favorite Japanese restaurants has opened back up. I got to go try that. Maybe I'll do a live broadcast from there. I'm not going to do a live broadcast from anywhere because my mouth will be stuffed with food. Yokohama, one of my favorite Japanese restaurants, they closed, like when COVID hit, they shut down. And they just reopened. I hope it's the same management because it's really good food there. And I can eat Indian food forever. I don't like spicy. Don't want to do the spicy. And the great thing about Indian food is they usually have at least partially vegetarian food. And that's what I eat. Now you know. Now you know what happened. So how was your short little span between our last show and this show? Do you have a good span? What are we calling it? A span? A good 2 days? Yeah, I did pretty good. Yesterday, in the gallery, sold a lot of my art. A lot of stuff went away. You know, here's what I noticed. So I have art, and it's to be sold. right? I have it in the gallery to sell. Some of the stuff I did years ago, and it's been hanging in the gallery for a long time. And what happens is, you don't realize it, I think, as an artist, but you because you see your work all the time. It's like, oh, I know that piece. I see it. Okay, and you see it. And then someone buys it. And there's this feeling of, no, I can't sell that. That's one of my favorite pieces. I got to hang on to that. And there's like this sadness that it's going away. It's like one of your possessions you've given away, something that you're really emotionally connected to. And that happens sometimes. It doesn't happen to all of my art. I think a little bit when it sells. It's like, oh, sad to see that one go, but glad it's got a home. But then there's some pieces, I don't even know if someone came in and made an offer, if I would even let it go. I might actually go, nope, not for sale anymore. That's mine. I shouldn't do that as an artist, right? I shouldn't. But anyway, so there were some pieces like that left yesterday. So now they have other homes. I always know at some point I'm going to go to a Goodwill and my art's going to be there. Someone bought it and then they didn't like it. So what most likely what happened is they bought it. They either moved, they died, they gave it to somebody else who didn't want it, whatever. And then that person was like, give that to Goodwill. I'm always hoping I'll find like a Jackson Pollock or something like that in Goodwill, like a real one. I remember there's a documentary about someone who found a Jackson Pollock at a yard sale, worth like $10 million or more. So my stuff's not even up there yet. I'm not even sure you can get 100 for some of my works. But maybe when I die, they're going to be worth some stuff. I won't know it. But be looking at the yard sales for my work. So that was kind of fun, selling art. I love selling art. I like knowing that people want my art and that it's in somebody's home now. That's always great. And what happens is, after I do that, and then I'll see a picture, and it doesn't look like mine. I'm like, oh, who painted that? And then I'm like, I did that? Really? Some kind of distance happens. You know, do you do that? Like some kind of work, like if you're a songwriter, I think you write a song. I think after a certain amount of time, it becomes like somebody else's. It's like not even yours, you know? And I do believe that's something, because something comes through us as artists to make what it is. So in some ways we are correct. It isn't us. We're sort of like the channel through which it comes. And so the longer we're removed from it, the more we feel like it's not even ours. We can't even remember when it happens. There's art pieces that I have done that I look at now and I'm like, I don't remember doing it. And I don't even know how I did it. Just the life of the artist, So I wanted to talk today. This is a weird one. You're going to think I'm weird. I know you already do. But this is going to be weird. Today, Pat Robertson died. You know who Pat Robertson is. TV preacher, Pat Robertson. 700 Club, Pat Robertson. Dumbass theologian, Pat Robertson. And I say that because some of the things he said was ridiculous. Had nothing to do with Christianity. Had nothing to do with spirituality. A lot to do with crazy religion. I say he, and there are several other people too that I would put in the same boat and want to sink it, but I'm not going to sink it. But they did more to change the religion of Christianity than almost anybody, I think, since Christianity was born. The religion has constantly changed. And I separate the spirituality of Christianity from the religion of spirituality. I have no problem with that. The spirituality of Christianity doesn't even have a name. I wouldn't even put Christianity on it. You can, if you want to. But if you look at the essence of the spirituality of Christianity, it shares the same common thread as Sufism and Buddhism and Hinduism. The spirituality of those religions, not the religion of them. And the religion is just built by human beings and is continuing to be built by human beings. And Pat Robertson was one of the chief construction guys who built this crazy religion that we see now that calls themselves Christianity that has nothing to do with the spirituality. In fact, it's embarrassing now. They actually practice the opposite of what the spirituality of Christianity is and try to pass it off as Christianity. Pat Robertson was one of the main guys, but I have a history with him I want to kind of talk about. Not personal history. Never met the man. But when I want to say, dang, I don't even know. I'm going to have to say maybe high school. I don't know if it was high school or early college. I can't remember. Might even been late college. Somewhere in those times, and let's just say the 80s. In the 80s time, when Pat Robertson was young and the 700 Club was kind of new and a little bit trendy, especially if you were a young Christian. It was before he went off the deep end. And I thought it was kind of cool. He had this really kind of slick TV show that you didn't see a lot in Christianity, and he had Christian celebrities on there, music, and I don't know. In the 80s, at my age, I was young and impressionable, and I thought that was kind of cool. But if you know anything about me from previous podcasts and things, you know that I was a young Christian, went to college to be a minister. I grew up Southern Baptist in East Tennessee, a fairly conservative dude, politically, and not as much politically, but somewhat politically, but definitely spiritually. And so I went to a Southern Baptist college to be a minister, changed my major to theater, letting in the demons. Satan took over my life at that point. Theater will do that to you. Not really, but I was always interested in religion and spirituality. And one of the concepts that I found very fascinating was what evangelicals call the baptism of the Holy Spirit. If you're evangelical or if you're involved in Christianity at all, you know what this means. If you're not, I'll try to explain a little bit. So in the story of the apostles of Jesus, at Pentecost, there was what was called the baptism of the Holy Spirit. So I think they were praying, and hold on, let me just explain. I'm going by memory. I haven't read this story in a long, long time, so I'm going to miss a few of the details, but I'll get as accurate as I can. They were praying, and this thing came upon them. This environment, this wave, this energy, and they became what you might call highly emotional, or highly spiritual. I don't want to offend anybody, and so please, I'm not making fun. I'm trying to talk history of my recollection. If this is something that you're involved in, that's okay. I'm not going to make fun of it. I will make fun of it another time, but I'm not at this point. I want you to know. So this wave, this energy, this presence, let's say, came up over the apostles, and all of a sudden they were like high. And they started speaking in tongues. If you don't know what that is, it's just like suddenly another language comes out of your mouth. And I think some of them prophesied and just all of this stuff. I don't know, but I was very fascinated by it. At the same time, really scared about it. But I kept hearing over and over and over, evangelicals would say that you had to have this experience if you had communicated or touched or been baptized or whatever, initiated by God. And that was something I wanted at the time. And so I would look for it. I was trying to find out more information because I was scared of it. I didn't want to be possessed. I didn't want to, I really didn't want to speak in tongues. I didn't want to have something like possessing me to make me do weird things that I perceived as being weird. But I always wanted to do whatever it was that God wanted me to do. So I checked into it and I did a lot of research. I visited churches. I tried to find out. I remember talking to a pastor of a church who actually would speak in tongues, and they spoke in tongues in his church, and he tried to explain it to me, and it didn't help. But Pat Robertson, 700 Club, I remember he released this is how early it was in the 80s, a double album, a double LP, 2 records together. And there were each album, each side. I think there was one was about prayer. I don't know what they were. I can't remember what they were all about, but I do know one side of the album was about the baptism of the Holy Spirit. And that's why I wanted that album. I actually donated to the 700 Club so I could get that album and a little 700 Club pin, which was kind of cool, that I could wear on my lapel. Lapel pin, 700 Club. Boy, I wish I had that. It might be worth money. So I got the album, and there was just a young, smiley, fresh-faced Pat Robertson on the cover talking about things that were spiritual. And I listened to the baptism of the Holy Spirit side. I think it was side 4. And nothing happened. I didn't get baptized in any Holy Spirit. I don't think I ever really understood it. Now, I will say, to this day, now in my age, my old age, I've actually seen and heard people live in front of me speaking in tongues. I'm not going to judge it. Let me just say this. I'm not going to judge it as far as like good, bad, negative, positive, whatever. I am going to say I don't understand it. I don't want to say I don't believe it because I don't like the word believe, but it doesn't make sense to me. All right. So let's just put it at that. If you were baptized by the Holy Spirit and you started speaking fluent French and you never had French before, or Chinese, Mandarin, or Japanese, or Spanish, Italian, fluent, hey, you might have me there. But if you're just talking gibberish and you're going to say it's a holy language, I mean, 1-year-old kids do that. It just going because you're feeling emotional. I don't understand that. Now, again, not saying it's what you say it is. Okay. But to me, I don't click with it. And that's what it was. And I think that's what I was afraid of all along. I didn't realize that it was basically what they call a heavenly tongue. There's nobody. I think the Bible itself says you don't speak in tongues if there's no one there to translate. Well, how do you translate nonsensical sounds? You can't. If you speak French and there's someone there to translate French, okay, and then I'll believe at that point. That to me is a miracle. The other thing, not as much. But okay, this was Pat Robertson's thing. He pushed it a lot, and I wanted it, and I think eventually I kind of distanced myself from it. This was before Pat Robertson. He was still evangelical, conservative, but a little more trendy, a little more interesting. And then he became old and judgmental. And that's when I totally lost touch with Pat Robertson. But I will tell you this. Here's an experience. Now, this is true. It's one of those things that I can't explain. I will never be able to explain it. I was home from college. I don't remember if it was a summer or if it's a vacation. I don't remember. I was home and 700 Club was on TV. Don't know if I put it on, if my mom was watching it. I don't remember. I just know it was on TV and I was in the room watching it. And at that particular moment, I had a really, really, really bad sore throat. I don't know if I had a cold. I don't know. My throat was just... It was like strep throat or something really bad, hard to swallow. And one of the 700 Club guys was on, Ben Kinchlow, who I loved. I think I loved him more than any 700 Club guy. He eventually quit. I think he quit because he just didn't like the way things were going. You can't blame him. But Ben was cool. He was the coolest one of 700 Club. And Ben Kinchlow was praying. I remember that. And on the 700 Club, they used to do this thing they called the Word of Knowledge, which I think it might be biblical. It might come from, again, if you're into this, I'm not making fun. I just don't particularly know the history of it. I think it might be in the Bible called the word of knowledge. I don't know, but it's an evangelical practice. So the word of knowledge is when you're praying, God gives you a word of knowledge about someone's condition. And that happened a lot on 700 Club. Pat Robertson would be praying and he would say, oh, I see someone has got a brain tumor and that's gone. God just healed it. It's no longer there. A lady in Florida has a bad foot and it's healed. You can walk now. They would do that in the show. You probably saw it if you've ever seen any of 700 Club. So the word of knowledge would happen a lot. So I don't know what it was about that day they started praying. I have no idea why. Now, I will say at the time I was more religious in Christianity than I am now, for sure. But then, I gradually got out of it. But I just remember at the time I just thought, what the heck? I'll just pray with them. Why not? My throat's hurting. I'm going to pray. Maybe I'll get a healing. And I closed my eyes, and there was no word of knowledge for me that I know of. But during that prayer, it felt in my body, this is how I describe it, like someone opened a faucet of warm honey that just poured from the top of my head all the way down my body. It just tingled like warmth, just covered my body. And my sore throat was gone. Completely gone. Is that voodoo? What is that? It's the Holy Spirit, right? It's because I didn't get baptized in the Holy Spirit. I don't know what it was. To this day, it's one of those things I don't, I personally, I'm a believer in healing. I do believe that the human body, human beings have power to heal in ways that we've yet to even explore. I do believe that we have been equipped to heal ourselves in fantastical ways that we don't believe now, and it's why we don't do it. But I think it's a natural part. If you're a lizard, if you're a lizard and your tail gets broken off, what happens? You grow it back. So it's not that far-fetched to think if someone's arm was cut off, they could grow it back. It happens in nature. Why doesn't it happen for humans? Maybe because we don't believe it. Maybe because it's something we haven't really looked at, checked into. Maybe it's something in the next 500 years somebody will discover. And they'll think we're so dumb that we were so superstitious we didn't believe that. But I do think that it's possible for human beings to, I think we have healing powers that we don't know of. So I don't find it that miraculous that happened. But it's something that, and I may have experienced healing kind of things throughout my life, but this was the one that was just so undeniable. And it's there. I can't, no matter what it's like if you see something that looks like a UFO, you can't really, for the rest of your life, you can't really say, I don't believe in UFOs without the little asterisk. You have to say, I don't believe in UFOs, although I did have an experience. So, Pat Robertson's dead, but I got a sore throat healed. And other people probably have stories too. I'm sure they did some good. I know there are people who went to his broadcasting school that got degrees, and I'm not saying he didn't do anything good at all ever. I have some problems with his methods, and I don't know what went on behind the scenes. I don't know what kind of person he was, but whatever. It's all gone. The life, it just recycles. There'll be some crazy person after him. There's a lot of people standing in line. I know that. A lot of crazy people after him to try to be even crazier because you get attention that way. I don't need it. I don't need that kind of religion. Some people do. I don't need it. Don't want it. Don't even want to be around it. Unless you want to heal something else on me. I got a hurt shoulder. I could use a prayer. Okay, that's it. That's my Pat Robertson story. I went from really liking Pat Robertson, I didn't worship him, but really admiring him, to think he was crazy as a loon, and he was embarrassing. And I remember throughout my life, the last 10, 20 years, just thinking, when is Pat Robertson going to die? When am I going to look into the paper, onto the web, and see that Pat Robertson has died? And the answer to that question is today, this morning, it happened. And whatever. Somebody will take over. It'll happen. I know. I'm going to say goodbye. I'm playing the entry theme music instead of the closing thing. I think Pat Robertson did that. It's Pat's fault. That's not something you can heal. Oh, wow. Oh, my knee feels so much better.